Hello everybody and welcome to my channel, The Real Super Sam. Today is a brand new top 5 stories video and I hope you enjoy. And welcome to hashtag Spider-Man Sunday. The Lizard is one of Spider-Man's most famous foes, Dr. Kurt Connors, a man who tried to regrow his arm and accidentally turned into a giant lizard. Connors never quite seems to give in to his animal side, and that's what makes him such a fascinating villain. There are so many aspects to this villain: his split personas, Kirk Connors' family, his relationship with Spider-Man, and the ways the Lizard and Kirk Connors have both changed over the years. I wish more people talked about him, like he's one of the top 5 Spider-Man villains. As always, there will be no team-up stories on this list. There was a lot of great Lizard stories I could choose from, but this is the top 5 best Lizard stories to me. Number 5. The Lizard Lives in the Blaze of Battle. A two-parter in Amazing Spider-Man issues 76 and 77, the best story featuring the Lizard in the 60s and 70s. The Lizard is alive again, and this time has his sights for revenge against Spider-Man. The last time they fought was in issues 44 and 45. Spider-Man tricked the Lizard into getting himself stuck and falling asleep. The memories of Kurt Connors' life is haunting the Lizard still, but eventually they disappear. Now the Lizard persona has fully taken over. Knowing the Lizard is out there, Peter Parker waits for a sign of where he is, and Lizard gives it to him. This leads to a fight between Spider-Man and the Lizard on the rooftops of New York. Great banter and action begins. Surprisingly, the Human Torch is flying by and decides to help Spider-Man fight the Lizard. So now it's a chase between the Human Torch, Spider-Man, and their reptilian foe. The last half of the story definitely revolves around the fact that Lizard is really Spider-Man's friend, Dr. Connors, and Spider-Man is trying to stop the Torch from hurting him without telling him the truth. The effect the Lizard has on Connors' family is shown great here, as his wife is upset and his son is shown to still love and believe in his father. Unfortunately, Lizard has taken over, but something does still affect the Lizard when it comes to his alter ego son, Billy. The one thing I have to mention is the way the Lizard is defeated is by being dried out with calcium chloride powder. Lizard was weakened so much that Connors could take his body back. The way Spidey cares about the Lizard, even when the Lizard is supremely monstrous, is great to see, and the Lizard himself has a lot of personality, especially the way he interacts with Spider-Man, like an old friend. Number 4. Among Us Lurks, a Lizard. A one-shot Spectacular Spider-Man issue 127, this issue changes the Lizard in a surprising way. Strange attacks have been popping up at night in New York, and when Spider-Man questions Guys, he says it was the Lizard who did it. Spidey rushes home, hoping Dr. Connors isn't the Lizard again. When he calls Kurt answers. Apparently he isn't the Lizard, but we see that he's in trouble and can't ask for Spider-Man's help. Another attack happens, and it's confirmed to be the Lizard this time. The last time the Lizard was in New York was in Spectacular Spider-Man issue 34, when the iguana first appeared. There, he seemed to be cured for good. Then, the Beyonder turned him back into the Lizard on Battleworld in Secret Wars. Spider-Man remembers how powerful Lizard is, and he won't use his full strength against him because inside, the reptile is his friend. Spider-Man then sees a note telling Connors to go to the canal to save his wife and son. But when he turns around, the Lizard busts in and tells Spider-Man to stay out of it. The Lizard isn't looking for a fight. He actually isn't the Lizard, but Dr. Kurt Connors in the Lizard's body. The time has changed after Battleworld. If this time it was different, he could stop the Lizard persona from coming out. So now Spider-Man and the Lizard are in a surprising team-up to save Martha and Billy Connors. It's revealed that the person who kidnapped the Connors was the Daredevil rogue, the Owl. Owl is prepared for Lizard though, as he makes the space around the Lizard freezing cold so his body falls asleep. This issue dives deep into Kurt Connors' psyche, and not just about the Lizard. It is interesting to see that he can now control the Lizard persona, like a superpower. Owl hasn't been seen since Spectacular Spider-Man issue 75. The reason he's doing this is so the Lizard formula will cure his broken spine. I never thought the Lizard would fight the Owl, in anything. This was a surprise issue and a surprise villain return for the series. Connors does get urges to unleash his Lizard side against the Owl for revenge, but he struggles and keeps it in check, definitely relating to split personalities, but more severe. This is a great story. It showed us more of Dr. Kurt Connors and showing us easily that Dr. Kurt Connors is the good guy and Lizard is the bad guy. In some Spider-Man stories show Connors as the bad guy also, which I really don't like. This is definitely a definitive Lizard. This team-up was surprising, the story was creative, and I can't really explain a problem anyone could have with it. Number 3. Shed. The very end of the Gauntlet storyline in Amazing Spider-Man issues 630 through 633, this is easily the darkest Lizard story ever written. At this time, Curt Connors is all alone. His wife is dead, and his son Billy has been taken away from him because of his lizard outbursts. He can barely see his son anymore, and Billy Connors at that seems distant and cold to his father, if not everyone. At his lab, the only one that will allow Connors to work with lizards anymore, his boss starts bothering him by getting cozy with his assistant and being a jerk to him. That night, Kurt is working and the lizard part of him acts up as he smells that his lab assistant was sleeping with his boss. Connors then goes to his lab to take the serum that keeps the lizard under control. But King sees this and tackles Kurt. His boss does it, thinking he's preventing the return of the lizard, but no. The lizard is back. Spider-Man gets involved soon after the first attack in Connors' lab and tracks the lizard down. This time, Spidey tries to be civil with the lizard and asks for Connors to control him, but soon the lizard just walks away and Spider-Man lets him go, thinking Billy Connors is safe. But Billy isn't there, and actually in an alley, the lizard finds him and eats him. Yes, the lizard eats his own son. This act destroys Curt Connors inside the lizard body, ending his will to fight the lizard anymore. When Spider-Man arrives, he sees the lizard's body, presuming he's dead. But he's shed. No more Curt Connors. The lizard is now a complete animal. No more Curt Connors inside of him trying to do good. He shed that part of him. Connors is gone forever. The lizard will now become his own person and live by the rules of nature, and Spider-Man doesn't have to hold back while fighting him anymore. This is the story that killed Dr. Connors. I know he returns in the future, but in this story, the lizard takes over and does shocking things that only a creature could do. This story changed the lizard in the most interesting way. The lizard now realizes what is acceptable in the real world, so he wears pants instead of being naked, and in the end, leaves the city because instead of birds, there's airplanes, instead of trees, there's buildings, etc. For a moment, you feel bad for this creature seeing all these unusual things outside of a normal reptilian environment. In the story, the lizard is able to bring out the reptilian side of people, and he even tries it on Spider-Man. Spider-Man actually has to take a lizard serum to stop it. Dr. Curt Connors being dead and the change in the lizard's appearance changes Lizard's personality and goals, even the way Spider-Man deals with the lizard. He doesn't have to pull his punches against him. Showing the lizard pictures of Billy causes the lizard to get memories of that Connors had. Maybe the lizard himself isn't incapable of feeling something for others, since seeing the picture of Billy hurts him. This is another hard loss for Spider-Man in the Gauntlet story, but this one was the hardest by far, the death of a close friend. One of the greatest Lizard events ever, this one is a must-read for all fans. Number 2, Where Monsters Dwell. A one-shot published in Spider-Man Unlimited, issue 19. This story starts with Dr. Curt Connors giving a lecture about humans and their R gene, the gene that makes humans different from lizards. Spider-Man is in Miami for an assignment, and while web-swinging, sees a robbery taking place. This robbery is being committed by kids. The one kid Spider-Man grabs happens to be Billy Connors, Kurt's son. Billy explains that his parents don't pay attention to him anymore and runs off, leaving Spidey to question what's the right thing to do. At a party that night, Martha Connors tells Mary Jane about problems with her husband Kurt and their son Billy. Kurt is seemingly more and more distant, and Billy is getting into trouble at school. The next day, Peter Parker goes to Connor's lab to talk to him about his work affecting his family life, and Kurt offers Peter a drink. His spider sense goes off to the water and refuses to drink it. Kurt, on the other hand, asks for it and drinks it without any problems. Peter starts to ask Connors what he thinks about his wife and son being concerned about him. He snaps at Peter, telling him he can't question him if he ever had that kid. Peter just lost his unborn child to Norman Osborn, so this sets Peter off to rush out and leaves Connors behind. We then see Connors regrets what he said and then falls apart in pain. That night, Spider-Man is web-swinging to travel to meet Ben Urich, but then his spider sense goes off at the reptile house. Spider-Man crashes through the roof and starts to stop these lizard men from killing Ben Urich, but their leader leaves. The next day, Billy Connors arrives at his mom's place escorted by a cop. When he gets home quickly, he faints to the ground. And at the hospital, Billy Connors talks about how his dad was doing experiments on him in secret. Peter then busts into Kurt's lab, convinced he's lost his mind. But before he can fight Lizard, he gets knocked out by his tail. The Lizard is back and is able to invade Curt Connors' mind, able to convince him to do stuff. He is going to make everyone a lizard to take over humanity. This is one of the Lizard's biggest feats of all time. Spider-Man has to stop him now. The story is a lot like the first Spider-Man the Animated Series episode and the Amazing Spider-Man 2012 movie, but here, the Lizard doesn't have any redeeming qualities about wanting to turn people into lizards. When Connors first snaps at Peter, I really don't like it, but then it's revealed it was his R gene, his inner reptile gene coming out, which is more than anyone else. It makes sense, and I don't think Connors wanted to do anything the Lizard tricked him to do, at least not consciously. The reason I say that is because Martha Connors comes to the conclusion that Kurt kind of wants to let his R gene go, to get revenge on humans, the creatures that caused him to lose his arm. Once again, getting to the Lizard's heart is with his son, telling him that and how lizards don't care for each other, sending the Lizard into shaking and becoming Kurt Connors once more. When Connors returns to human form by fighting the lizard personality of himself, maybe even confronting his dark hopes of hurting humans, but overall, he gives up and begs for help. Spider-Man gets injected with the lizard formula and lets loose while fighting the lizard and almost killing him. Spider-Man is also acting like an animal here. Personally, this fight is what we need in a story with the lizard looking like this, one of the best lizard designs in my opinion. The story could be described as a story of people facing the darkness within, Spider-Man letting loose his powers, Billy breaking the law and doing whatever he wants, and the lizard wanting humanity to stop acting civil. The story had everything that has surrounding the lizard character's mythos not just shown but also changed in this one issue. And now for the greatest lizard story of all time. Number 1. Fathers and Sins. The greatest lizard story is an Amazing Spider-Man issue 365, a 30-year anniversary special. This is the lizard's next appearance after Spider-Man issues 1 through 5, the Torment story from Todd McFarlane. It's Billy Connor's birthday, and Peter Parker and his wife Mary Jane are there to join in too. But the lizard secretly enters the party and wants his son, Billy. When he tricks Billy to enter, the lizard starts to scratch him, seemingly out for his human family. Peter Parker's spider sense went off and he enters to fight the lizard, but he gets away, but not before getting a spider tracer put on him. Spider-Man follows the lizard into the sewers, but so does Billy Connors. Billy meets up with Spider-Man and tells him he has to end the threat of the lizard forever. He brought along a knife to do it, and Spider-Man tells him to go home. He'll handle it, but Billy secretly stays. Spider-Man and the lizard reunite, and the lizard reveals that after what Kraven and Calypso did to him in his last appearance, Kurt Connors can now control the lizard body for a while. He found the secret lab in the sewers, and with it, will try to free himself of his reptile persona forever. Spider-Man knows that it's rigged, somehow, and the lizard decides he's gonna try it out anyway. So the two frenemies start the fight. Spider-Man gets trapped under a bunch of rubble and the lizard walks off. And at the end, Spider-Man stops the machine before Connors is killed. Thankfully, it seems to end in the greatest happy ending Kurt Connors could have in a lizard story, being reunited with his son, free of the lizard forever. Definitely the best looking lizard story. I love the way the lizard is portrayed, especially during the fights. The story with him is great, and makes sense. It was the best story to write after all the other times Lizard has appeared. It was time for the grand finale. This showed the effect the lizard has on Kurt's family and how it scares him. You feel bad for Kurt since he didn't want this and it makes the ending all the more better. Spider-Man is great here. He knows the game plan when it comes to the lizard returning to the limelight. Lizard, on the other hand, doesn't want to fight most of the time in the comic, but when he does, it's one of the strongest times the lizard has ever had. The setting for the story is in the sewers, and that's just perfect for him. They use the sewer setting not just for fighting, but for some great reptilian metaphors. There's also a reference to issue 33 here, showing Spider-Man's strength and how hard he will be to push himself to do something for someone he cares dearly about. The perfect lizard story. It had the scares, the surprises, heart, and the action. Not just a great lizard story, a great story in general. Those were the top 5 best lizard stories in my opinion. There are so many great lizard stories, this was one of my hardest lists to do. Making this list, Lizard has moved up on my personal list of top 10 Spider-Man villains. He is so interesting and his powers are cool to see. I hope you enjoyed. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Bye guys, and have a good day.